We are living now, as the events of the Arab world so clearly remind us, in an era of astonishing elevated risk. We've been through various phases of the financial risk crisis, which culminated first in the kind of almost suspension of global trade towards the end of 2008, as we went from mortgage crisis to counterparty trade crisis to, in 2009-10, sovereign risk crises as Ireland and other weaker European economies seem to be on the brink. And we've now gone, as many have pointed out, to geopolitical crisis with what is happening in the Middle East and the prospect of the impact of much higher petrol prices on the global economy, amongst other things. But we've still not really encountered the fifth risk, which I would describe as development risk. And it's about a world of limits. It's about a world where natural resources are no longer abundant, where we're starting to see stress on water resources in very successful economic areas like India and China, where we've seen from weather the failure of both the Chinese wheat crop this year in significant part, but also major wheat crop failure in Russia. So we're starting to see this reflected in much higher food prices, which I do not think is a temporary phenomenon, but a much more long-run one. We're seeing it in the extraordinary propensity for environmental crises in Asia, where now 80 to 90% of natural disasters every year are in Asia because of heavy overpopulation in poor areas of, geologically poor locations in the region, with vulnerability to earthquakes, to floods, to droughts, increasing at dramatic rates. So we're seeing a world which is pushing up against the limits of its resources and its capacity to live life the way it's living it. And it seems impossible, despite the near moribund climate change negotiations, that this can be solved without global deals on lifestyles, resource consumption, and how we share the finite amount of resources the world is endowed with. So I think for these reasons, there is a continued push towards a much more collaborative, cooperative world.